Welcome to the Premier League preview brought to you by sportsbet.io. Do like, comment, share and subscribe to get your latest previews for the Premier League, football across Europe, Champions League, NFL and also the NBA. And it's that time of year where the games come thick and fast. So we've just looked at Matchday 18 and within a couple of days we're into Matchday 19. And this covers, as we just bid farewell to 2024 and say hello to 2025, this covers games on the 29th, 30th and also the 1st. Gavin Puszczalowskyi with you right now, joined by former Red Liverpool striker Neil Mellor and former England and Spurs goalkeeper Paul Robinson. In part one, we're going to be looking at the big games coming up, and we're starting with Manchester United against Newcastle. Man United, who are a lowly 14th at the moment and way off it. 2.8 for Manchester United. Newcastle, 2.5. I cannot remember the last time Newcastle United were the favourites to win at Old Trafford. 3.5 for the tie. Man United have lost their last two home games in the Premier League. They have never lost three consecutive Premier League games in a row at home. The last time they lost three straight games in the top flight was 1986. Ron Atkinson was the then manager. Sir Alex joined 3 months later. And Newcastle United, previous to beating Aston Villa, winning games handsomely, both 4-0. I'm going to give Robbo your first picks on this one. This is interesting. Tough to call. Man United, Newcastle. Your thoughts, please?
I don't think it is tough to call. I mean, you saw Man United last night. They're all over the place, aren't they? He's looking for answers and he ain't finding answers. Players that are not playing well enough, not at the level he wants them to play. The shape that they're in. I mean, you sit looking at that Premier League table. What are the three places above the bottom three? This is Manchester United. The amount of money that they've spent, regardless of the size of the club and the history and all the rest of it, we've got to stop thinking about that. We actually deal with the present and deal with the Manchester United team that we're dealing with. Because we all talk about and we'll compare to Sir Alex Ferguson and they're the biggest club in the world, etc. But actually, that all needs to be knocked away now. We need to actually start talking about what's going on the pitch and the current situation. Because the truth is, they're in 14th place. They're just 3 places above the relegation. And they got well beaten at Wolves last night. Bruno Fernandes is now going to be suspended for this game, sent off again. Petulance. I mean, he's not my favourite player in the world, but he's a captain, he's a leader, and he should, he needs to set an example on the pitch. When the manager's struggling like he is, you listen to Ruben Amorim and his press conferences after the games. I think it's a bit of a bigger task than he thought it was going to be. I don't think this is a tough one to call. I'm on Newcastle all day long.
It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, with Manchester United? Because we know they're not having a good season. We know they're a shadow of the side that, I grew up in the 90s. I say grew up in the 90s. I wish that was the case. But through the 90s, Manchester United were the all-dominant force. And it's almost like you're waiting for them to kick back into gear, which is very much how their neighbours are at the moment. We're almost waiting for Manchester City to kick back into gear. And at the moment, they're simply not. So at the moment, as Robbo has testified, Mel, you just can't trust Man United at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a bit generous. We're waiting for City to kick back into gear because they've shown they can do it. United haven't shown they can do it consistently for many years. They are way off the pace. When we think of Manchester United now, we think maybe they might get top 6. We don't think of United as a top 4 team anymore. And that is the reality. It is a big job for the new manager who's come in. He's realised that there is a lot of rebuilding to do there. I thought they'd get something at Wolves. But again, you're thinking there's got to be better performances than that. They're at home against Newcastle, and you're thinking they might nick a draw. Whereas usually you're thinking they'd be too good for the opposition. So that's where we're at with Manchester United at the moment. They've conceded more goals than they've scored at home. That's a worry. That has to be sorted out. And Newcastle, despite having a horrendous record at Old Trafford, they've won once in the league since 1972. That is their record. It is horrendous. In fact, the last time they won was 11 years ago, 2013. Who got the winner for Newcastle that day? Your clue being he was French. 1-0. 2013?
Too late for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's 10 years.
I've got a name that's popped into my head, and I've got Hatim Ben Arfa, but is he French? Was he the guy?
I think he's French, but it's wrong. But that sort of era. He was a lovely football player, this lad. He was a midfielder. He wasn't a striker. Lovely footballer.
Laurent Robert, he was too early as well, wasn't he? That was too early.
Midfield. This was the last time Newcastle went to Old Trafford and won in the league, 2013. They have won, I think, once in the cup at Old
They won in
Trafford.
the cup last year. Was it last year or the year before they won in the cup?
I would
didn't
say
they?
Newcastle have won 3 of the last 4 meetings, and Man United have failed to score in those games that Newcastle won. Anthony Gordon also has got 2 in 2 versus Man United, and he scored against Villa. I'm still trying to think of this midfielder, though, and I can't think of him.
Probably, do you know what? It's not a household name. It's not one where you go, "Cool, yeah." I'm gonna have to tell you, aren't I?
Yeah.
No, give us another clue.
No, I don't know that much about him. Anyway, it's Cabaye. Remember him?
Yes, I
Cabaye?
do remember him. Yeah, I do remember him. Not for scoring that goal, clearly.
Yeah. Anyway, Cabaye, not the household name, but he was the winner for Newcastle. So 1 win in the league at Old Trafford since 1972. That needs to improve.
And Newcastle on the flip side, going, ending the year in great form, 4 straight victories, up to 5th in the table. Things are rosy for Newcastle. So, that's even that 2.5 to win at Old Trafford, a place where, Bournemouth came last time and won 3-0. That's going to be tempting quite a few. So let's go with score prediction this one. I'll start with you, Robbo, for Man United against Newcastle.
Value in Newcastle. Old Trafford's not the fortress it once used to be. Do I give United a goal? That's the only question. 2-1 Newcastle.
It's gone for 2-1 for Newcastle. Generally, as a rule, by the way, both teams to score does not happen. I think it's 5 of the last 6 where both teams have failed to score in this one, although last time at Old Trafford it did finish 3-2 in favour of Manchester United. Neil, your thoughts, please, your score prediction. Paul's gone for an away win.
Do you know what? I just think United will respond and get something. I don't think they'll win, but I think they may well get a draw in this one. So I'm sitting on the fence with a 1-1 draw.
1-1 is what you've gone for. The last time these teams drew was all the way back in 2022. It's about 5 games if you throw in the League Cup, and it did finish 0-0. We're starting with a split opinion, away win for Robbo and a tie for Neil. Next up then, we're talking Sunday the 29th now, and it's a 5:15 kickoff. We're looking at West Ham taking on Liverpool. West Ham, at the time of recording, 7.2 to win this game. Liverpool are 1.41, 5.1 for the tie. Both of these won yesterday. At the time of recording, they, as I said, the price is correct at the time of recording, and both these teams won last time out. I'm going to come to you, Mel's first thought on your former side in their tie at West Ham.
This is the toughest game over the festive period.
Hang on. Which former side? Which former side? This is the Neil Mellor derby.
Yeah, good shout, Robbo.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah.
Get tuned in, Gav. You West Ham time. So I think this is a tough game because it's played less than 72 hours after the previous one, and I don't think that should ever happen for any Premier League team. All the managers will complain about that, so it's about squad rotation, which players are going to sort of be rested and replaced. Luis Diaz was an unused sub against Leicester, so he will play and he's a potential match winner. Szoboszlai was rested against Leicester. He got on the pitch. He was booked within 4 minutes. He's now suspended against West Ham. So I think the rotation would have been there, so he's now going to miss that game. Liverpool were too good for Leicester. Leicester were poor, but Liverpool conceded a goal. So you're thinking that might give West Ham hope that they might score. I just think these games coming so quick, I think they're going to be tight games, and this will be another one of those tight games. I think Liverpool will just have enough. The way Salah's playing it's just unbelievable. Scored again. He's got 19 goals this season. Do you know how many of the 19 have been in the second half?
I would hazard a guess. I always go first on this one. I
love it when he dives in. Love it when he dives in.
2-footed every time, isn't it? I'm going to go for 18.
19.
18. Gav wins it. I mean, that is unbelievable. 18 goals in the second half. Yeah,
I know.
He's in the first half. That was
it's not just the goals in the second half as well. It's the number of last goal of the game that Salah scores, which is remarkable. West Ham have won just 1 of the last 8 home games versus Liverpool. The one thing about Liverpool, if you want goals, do watch Liverpool, certainly on the road. Liverpool have conceded over 1.5 goals in each of the last 4 away games. Liverpool have scored 14 in 4 on their travels and conceded 10 in 4 as well. Testament to that is the last time they travelled to London for a 9-goal thriller against Spurs. So if you are looking at this one, you're surely going to be looking at goals. What's your thoughts on this one, Paul?
Bookies may as well pay out now. Liverpool for the title. You look at what the rest of them are doing. Not just on Liverpool's form, but you look at the rest of them. Chelsea losing yesterday against Fulham. Forest, obviously, they're staying there. Arsenal, look at the points that they're behind now. There's a huge gap to close. Manchester City, they're not in it anymore. Liverpool keep doing what they're doing. They're going to have the title wrapped up by the end of February. They're a machine. I was at West Ham last week for the Brighton game. Struggled to defend before that. Did my stats, did my work before that game. And you look at West Ham defensively, they were better in the game against Brighton, but they concede too many goals. And against that Liverpool attack, there's no way they're keeping a clean sheet. They're going to have to score at least 2 to win the game, West Ham, and I just can't see it happening. Liverpool go there. It's not an intimidating stadium like Upton Park was. It's a nice place to go. Fantastic stadium, great pitch. Liverpool will love playing there, regardless of who plays, the squad rotation, etc. West Ham just concede too many goals for me. Comfortable away win again for Liverpool.
Cody Gakpo, by the way, who's been amongst the goals, has got 4 in his last 5 games against West Ham. So Gakpo, a nod of the head for Mellor, because he's always talking about Gakpo. Come on, let's go and then have a scoreline for this one. Mel's, I'm coming to you first. Scoreline for West Ham against Liverpool.
Yeah, we have a good record against West Ham. Only 1 defeat in 18. I think we'll go there and get the win, but I think it'll be close. So I'm going to give West Ham a goal, but a 2-1 away win.
2-1 away win for Mel's. And Paul, do you agree?
I just like the way that we teed this up as the Neil Mellor derby, and at the end there he just goes straight and he goes, "We'll go to West Ham and we will win." But I do agree with him. I think Liverpool will win. I think they'll win. And listen, where would West Ham be without Jared Bowen, by the way? He's absolutely outstanding. Was it 5 goals, 4 assists this season? Without him playing, whether he's playing on the right, playing down the middle. Actually, they changed it up against Brighton. He started on the right, but then they made the substitution. Fulkrug came off. He went down the middle. He's always good for a goal or an assist at some point this season. You back him every game for a goal or an assist, and you'll be in profit by the end of the season. I think West Ham will get one, but I don't think one will be enough. 3-1 Liverpool.
It's gone for 3-1 for Liverpool. No split opinion in this one in terms of who wins it, but a split opinion in the score line. Yeah, Jared Bowen, by the way, who scored against Southampton, also scored the first goal for West Ham in their 2-2 tie at home to Liverpool last season. Bizarrely, West Ham, in the goals they've scored against Liverpool, they've actually scored the first in all 3. So the last 3 times that West Ham have scored against Liverpool, they've scored the first goal in all 3, but they've only won 1 of them. The third and final big game that we're looking at in part 1 of the Premier League preview, brought to you by sportsbet.io as we enter 2025, is the all-London affair. Brentford taking on Arsenal. At the time of recording, Brentford play Brighton tonight, and Arsenal, they are taking on Ipswich. So that's between now and these games we're talking about. There are games to be played by these, and this has been played on Wednesday, so this is the 1st of January. Brentford are 5.9 to win this one. Arsenal are 1.52, 4.6 for the tie. I always hark back to the first ever game for Brentford in the Premier League, which was a home game against Arsenal when they got promoted, and they beat them. Mel's, coming to you first for Brentford at home to Arsenal. Tough one to call, this one, I think.
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be a comfortable away win. I think Arsenal are going to hit a bit of a run to be the closest challengers to Liverpool. And what suits Arsenal for this game is the recovery time. They've played Ipswich at home, 27th, and then there's a real recovery time. Rather than being less than 72 hours, which a lot of teams are experiencing, they have that recovery time, and they'll be absolutely fine to go to Brentford. I know Brentford have been great at home, certainly earlier on in the season, beating at home to Forest last time out. Brentford are a good side at home. I think Arsenal will be just too good for them. I really do believe they'll get the points. Yes, I know Saka's missing. People go, "Oh, Saka." Odegaard's playing. Odegaard is the main man for Arsenal when it comes to creating chances. So, Arsenal for me, this is not a tough one. Despite Brentford having a good home record, I'm all over Arsenal. I think they've only won 1 in 6, by the way, Brentford against Arsenal. So Arsenal do have a good record against Brentford as well. So bear that one in mind.
Yeah, it was that first game of the season, first game of the Premier League campaign for Brentford. Arsenal have won their last 3 games. If you throw in a League Cup fixture, they've won their last 3 games at Brentford and actually kept a clean sheet in all 3. And with Brentford losing at home to Forest last time out, that was the first time Brentford have failed to score at home so far as well this season. So I'll come to you for the scoreline soon, Mel's, your prediction. But firmly in the Arsenal camp in this one for Mel's. What about you, Paul?
Never firmly in the Arsenal camp, but I think they'll win. I'm not going to ever go down the route of saying that I'm firmly in the Arsenal camp, but I think they'll win this game. With a game against Ipswich, I think they'll have the opportunity to rotate his players. Saka's going to be a huge miss for them. Brentford's record at home. We know Brentford's record at home. But then we did this last week before, when Arsenal went to Crystal Palace. Thought it was going to be tight. They went there, put in a performance, and they blew a decent Palace side away by 5. So, when they're at it, Arsenal, they're at it. And I don't think Brentford will pose too big a test from Brentford's home record. There's going to be value in backing Brentford. If you like an outside bet, just don't put them in your ACCA. Arsenal are the one to put in your ACCA. Without Saka, Odegaard, Jesus started scoring goals as well, hasn't he? Defensively, they're going to get back on keeping clean sheets. Can't see Ipswich being a problem for them tonight. I mean, we're talking prior to the Ipswich game, but that's surely a game that just takes care of itself with the squad rotation. And as Mel says, the extra time and the opportunity to rotate players against Ipswich tonight, I think they go there, and I think they beat Brentford, and I think they beat them well.
Also helps by the fact that they don't have to travel that far either. It's just, a hop across London is not appetising for anybody. It still take a while, but it's better than an almighty great big journey up north for Arsenal. So Kai Havertz has also got 2-2 against Brentford. So if you're looking at any-time goal scorer, he's got 2-2. Let's go for the score predictions then. Mel's, your thoughts, score prediction for Brentford against Arsenal?
Yeah, I'll give Brentford a goal. Top home scorers, aren't they, in the Premier League? So 1 for Brentford, but comfortable away win. 3-1 for me for Arsenal.
3-1 for the away side. It's bizarre actually, because as I said, Brentford have not scored in the last 3 games at home to Arsenal, but Brentford have scored in the last 3 games at Arsenal, which is a bizarre record. Paul, your score prediction, please.
If I was going to go for Brentford, I'd tip them to score first, because you look at the way that they play from kickoffs. They do try and score early on in the game. I don't think they will. Those 3 clean sheets that Arsenal have had at Brentford, I think there's another one. 2-0 Arsenal.
It's gone for 2-0 Arsenal, and Arsenal to keep that record of clean sheets at Brentford, as that score prediction has clearly done Mel's over right there. So that's it. Yeah, thank you. So no split opinion in this one either. Again, different scorelines, but you've both gone for Arsenal to win this one. And that is part 1 done of the Premier League preview, brought to you by sportsbet.io. Do keep a track of when these games are being played, by the way, because they're all over the place. They're on Sundays, Mondays and Wednesday with different kickoff times. We are back for part 2, where we are looking at the rest of the fixtures as we bid farewell to 2024. We'll look at the score predictions, even though some of the games have been played, and who's getting ever closer to their hands on the sportsbet.io trophy. And we'll also be looking at the trebles as well. Join us for part 2. And whatever your bets are, please do gamble responsibly.